She challenged the maid to a fight, thinking it'd be easy. What happened next shattered her ego. You ever walk into a room and just know who thinks they're the most important person there? You don't need a speech. You don't need a crown. The way they sit, the way they look at people, it tells you everything. That was Aubrey Lynn Whitmore, age 28, heir to one of the largest real estate portfolios in Georgia, and proud of it. She didn't walk, she glided, always in heels, always with a smooth lip gloss and that smug look that said, "This world was built for me." The Whitmore mansion sat just outside of Franklin, Tennessee, tucked away behind tall gates and trimmed hedges. It had 7 bedrooms, a pool shaped like a violin, and marble floors that clicked beneath her shoes like applause. But you know what? Money didn't make Aubrey interesting. It was her attitude. She'd just earned her black belt in Taekwondo, had the bruises and framed certificate to prove it. And now, she was floating through the house like a queen returning from battle. To her, everyone around her was just background noise, especially the maid. Her name was Maya Robinson, 36, slim build, short twists tied back in a bun, always in plain polos, black slacks, quiet shoes. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't rush, just moved through the house like clockwork, keeping it spotless. She'd been with the Whitmores for 8 years. Aubrey never asked her about her life, not once. Never wondered where she came from, just called her Maya like she was part of the furniture. Until one Thursday afternoon, humid and slow like Tennessee summers often are, everything shifted. Aubrey stood at the kitchen island, frowning. "Has anyone seen my mother's brooch?" she said, loud enough for everyone within 50 feet to hear. "The one with the blue sapphire." The chef paused. The gardener looked up from outside the window. No one said anything. Then from the hallway came a calm voice. "It's in the upstairs study drawer. I placed it there after the housekeeper deep clean on Monday." Aubrey turned slowly. Maya stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding a laundry basket. Her tone wasn't rude, just matter of fact. Aubrey's eyes narrowed. "You moved it?" she asked, stepping closer. "I secured it, like I always do," Maya replied, her voice even. Aubrey wasn't used to being corrected, not even politely, especially not by someone who scrubbed her bathtub. "Did I ask you to touch it?" Aubrey snapped. Maya blinked. "I do what's necessary to protect valuable items during cleaning, ma'am." There it was, ma'am. The word dripped like syrup, polite but distant. The room felt heavy, even though nobody moved. Aubrey gave a tight smile. "You know, just because you live here doesn't mean you run the place." "I've never thought that," Maya said, still holding the basket. "Oh, really? Because lately you've been walking around like you have something to prove." Maya tilted her head slightly. "Not trying to prove anything, just doing my job." Aubrey's jaw clenched. There was something about Maya's calmness that set her off. She didn't yell. She didn't apologize. She just stood there, level, like she wasn't beneath her, like she knew something. And that was what got under Aubrey's skin. That evening, the house was full of quiet footsteps and soft conversation. Aubrey's father was entertaining business partners downstairs. Laughter drifted from the dining room, muffled by thick walls and high ceilings. But upstairs? Upstairs, the study door was open just a crack. A faint amber light spilled onto the hallway carpet. Aubrey stood in front of it, gripping the doorknob. She'd retrieved the brooch, just like Maya said. It was there. Perfect condition, no harm done. But still, that conversation had left a bitter taste. She turned the knob, stepped inside, and let the door click shut behind her. Maya was already in the room, dusting the bookshelf. Aubrey didn't speak at first. She just stared. Maya looked over her shoulder. "Need something?" Aubrey walked forward, her heels silent on the rug. "You know," she said, "I don't like being talked down to." Maya set the duster down. "Neither do I." But Aubrey wasn't ready for someone to talk back, and what came next would push them both into a place they couldn't come back from. Aubrey leaned against the edge of the walnut desk, arms crossed, chin tilted slightly up, like she was waiting for Maya to flinch. But Maya didn't. She went back to wiping down the bookshelf, slow and steady, like nothing had been said. Aubrey let out a short laugh under her breath. "You really don't care who I am, do you?" Maya paused, turning just enough to meet her eyes. "I care about doing my job well." "That's not what I asked." "I know." There it was again, that calm, the quiet, grounded way she spoke. No fear, no rush to explain herself. And somehow, that irritated Aubrey more than if she'd yelled or cried. "You walk around this house like you know more than the people who pay you," Aubrey said, voice sharper now. "You act like you're untouchable." Maya's brows lifted slightly. "I walk like I'm sure of who I am. That bothers you?" Aubrey scoffed. "Don't flatter yourself. I've just seen too many people forget their place." Maya finally put down the rag, turned fully and looked at her without blinking. "What place is that exactly?" The question hung in the air, bold and unshaken. Aubrey took a step closer, their eyes now level. "You tell me. You think just because you've worked here a few years that you're family? You're not." "I never said I was. But you act like you got nothing to prove." Maya gave a small nod. "Because I don't." Aubrey's face twitched. She wasn't used to being challenged. Not like this. Not by someone who folded her towels and washed her wine glasses. "I've got a black belt," she said suddenly. Maya raised an eyebrow. And I've trained under real instructors. Instructors who taught discipline, power, how to handle disrespect." Maya didn't move. Her voice stayed even. "I've trained too, long before I stepped foot in this house." "Sure you have. I'm not lying." Aubrey chuckled, almost amused now. "You expect me to believe that?" "I don't expect anything from you," Maya said softly. "But I can tell you this. I don't respond well to threats, especially from people who don't really want smoke." Something in Aubrey's expression shifted. Her jaw tightened. Her fingers curled slightly at her sides. "You know what?" she said, stepping back, arms wide. "Let's settle this. Right here." Maya blinked once. "What do you mean?" "I mean you and me. Right now. Let's go one round. You want to be tough? Prove it." Maya stared at her for a moment, then slowly reached behind her and untied her apron. "Are you serious?" she asked, not out of fear, but like she was giving Aubrey one last chance to walk it back. "You started this," Aubrey snapped. "I'm just ending it." Maya folded the apron neatly and placed it on the desk. Then she turned around and stepped to the center of the room. "I didn't start anything," she said. "But if you really want this smoke, you're going to learn something tonight." Aubrey smirked, pulling her long hair into a loose bun and tossing off her heels. "Don't hold back," she warned. "I never do." There were no mats, no rules, no referee, just hardwood floors, heavy furniture, and tension thick enough to slice with a blade. They squared off, maybe 5 feet apart, both barefoot, both ready in their own way. Aubrey bounced slightly on her toes, light and agile, like she'd done in the studio. Her eyes were locked in. Maya didn't bounce. She didn't flinch. She just stood still, left foot slightly forward, arms relaxed, but aware. Her eyes weren't locked in. They were measuring. Aubrey made the first move. Quick sidekick, textbook form, aiming for the ribs. Maya shifted just enough for it to graze her side, then stepped in and tapped Aubrey's wrist, hard enough to jolt her back. Aubrey stepped back, blinking. That contact was sharp, not flashy, not rehearsed, real. "You been practicing?" she asked, a little surprised. "Nope," Maya said. "I don't practice. I remember." But remembering's one thing, facing the truth is another, and Aubrey was about to learn that the hard way. Aubrey shifted her stance. This wasn't going how she thought it would. She'd expected hesitation, maybe some clumsy flailing or a quick apology, but Maya didn't even blink. She moved with the kind of control you only learn when you've been in real fights, not studio sessions with mirrors and padded floors. Aubrey came in again, this time with a jab step and a high hook. Maya ducked under it effortlessly, didn't counter, didn't show off. Just let Aubrey swing, miss, and feel the emptiness of hitting air. "You holding back?" Aubrey asked, circling. "No," Maya said. "I'm waiting." "For what?" "For you to get serious." Aubrey growled under her breath and went for a low sweep, trying to knock Maya off balance. It was fast, precise, and the kind of move that usually ended a round. But Maya hopped back, turned her body, and stayed upright like she'd seen it coming 5 seconds ago. "You trained where?" Aubrey asked, breathing heavier now. "South Side," Maya replied. "Real life, not belt ceremonies." Aubrey laughed once, sharp and bitter. You think my training's a joke? No, Maya said, stepping in closer now. But I think you've never fought someone who wasn't trying to flatter you. Aubrey's heart pounded, not just from the movement, but from something else. She was annoyed, embarrassed, a little thrown off. How was she the one getting sized up right now? Let me guess, she spat. You're going to tell me some I've seen things story? Try to teach me a lesson like you're in some inspirational movie? Maya didn't smile, didn't react. You don't want a lesson, she said. You want to win. You want to feel like you can still control something, even me. Aubrey charged. She swung wide, angry now, sloppy. Maya grabbed her wrist mid-swing, turned her body, and gently pushed her sideways. Aubrey stumbled back into the desk, her pride bruised harder than her body. You think just because I clean your house, I don't know how to fight? Maya said, calm but clear. You think discipline lives in a mansion? Aubrey stood up straighter, chest rising and falling fast. I've worked for everything I have, she snapped. So have I, Maya said. They stared at each other. No more bouncing, no more grinning. Just two women, both worn down in different ways. Aubrey finally asked, Why'd you take this job then? You talk like you're better than it. I don't think I'm better than my job, Maya said. I think people who look down on others because of theirs are worse than they know. The words hit like a body blow. Aubrey stepped forward again, but this time she didn't attack. She just stood close, closer than before, eye to eye. You're not scared of me. No, Maya said. You're just loud. That one cut deep. Aubrey swallowed. Her fists were still clenched, but the fight wasn't in her arms anymore. It was behind her eyes. The room got quiet. The air wasn't filled with tension anymore. It was shame. Shame she didn't know what to do with. I'm not like her, Aubrey said suddenly. I'm not like my mother. Maya nodded slowly. I didn't say you were, but you carry her in your voice sometimes. Aubrey sat down on the edge of the desk, rubbing her forearm where she'd hit it. For the first time, she looked human. Not just rich. Not just confident. Uncertain. How do you stay so calm? She asked, genuinely. Maya walked to the window and looked out. Because I've had to be. When I was 17, my baby brother got jumped outside a grocery store. I didn't freeze. I didn't call for help. I handled it. And that night, I realized staying calm doesn't mean you're weak. It means you know who you are, even when someone's trying to shake you. Aubrey looked down at her bare feet on the polished floor. Do you think I'm weak? Maya turned back around. I think you're scared someone will figure out you're not as sure of yourself as you pretend to be. Aubrey didn't argue, because for the first time in a long time, she couldn't. But the fight wasn't over yet, not on the floor, and definitely not in Aubrey's head. For a few seconds, the room felt still. No more flexing, no more threats. Just silence, and two women facing each other without a crowd, without noise, without the layers they wore around everyone else. Aubrey stood up from the desk, not out of anger this time, but because something in her chest was tight, like a question she didn't want to ask but couldn't ignore. She looked at Maya. Do you ever regret it? Maya folded her arms. Regret what? Letting go of that part of you, the fighter. Maya exhaled through her nose. I never let it go. I just stopped using it to prove myself to people who weren't worth it. That stung more than it should have. I'm not worth it? Aubrey asked. I didn't say that, Maya said. But this little match you're itching for, that's not about skill. That's about control. Aubrey didn't reply right away. She took a breath and stepped back into her stance. Then take it from me. Maya looked at her, steady, calm. Her voice dropped just a bit. You really want to keep going? I need to, Aubrey said. Maya rolled her neck, slowly stepped to the side, and this time she didn't wait. She moved first. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't wild. It was a smooth step-in, a feint to the left, then a palm strike to Aubrey's shoulder that spun her halfway around. Aubrey stumbled, but caught her balance. You're telegraphing your moves, Maya said. Don't coach me. Then stop moving like someone who needs one. Aubrey came back fast. She ducked low and aimed for Maya's knees. Maya shifted, dropped her weight, and deflected it with a knee bump that knocked Aubrey off her line. She grunted. This wasn't like sparring at the studio. Maya didn't move like an instructor. She moved like someone who had to survive. "You're stronger than I thought," Aubrey said, panting. "You don't know anything about me," Maya replied. "I know you're quick." "I had to be," Maya said. "I used to ride the green line every day with a baby in one arm and keys between my fingers just in case." Aubrey blinked. That wasn't a story she'd ever imagined from someone folding her sheets. Maya moved again. This time, Aubrey was ready. She ducked under, swept a leg, and caught Maya slightly off balance. Maya recovered fast, but not fast enough to hide it. Aubrey's eyes lit up. "Gotcha!" Maya gave a slow nod. "Okay, 1 point for you. You said this wasn't a match." "It's not, but you're keeping score anyway." They both smiled, not big, but real. Then Maya stepped in with a burst of speed that made Aubrey's breath catch. 2 sharp body taps, a slap to the side, a fake jab, up top. Her movements weren't about power. They were surgical, controlled. "Your form's clean," Aubrey said, "but you don't punch hard." "I don't need to punch hard," Maya said. "I just need you to think I can." That answer messed with Aubrey's head more than the fight itself. She backed away a few feet, breathing heavier now. Sweat was forming on her arms, sticking her hair to her forehead. "You're dangerous," she said. "I'm careful," Maya replied. "Dangerous is messy." "Then what do you call this?" Maya looked around the study, furniture pushed back, 2 grown women barefoot in the middle of a mansion, fighting like something needed to break. She said, "I call it sad." That was the first time the fight actually hurt. Aubrey froze. "Sad? You live in this big house with all these people serving you and still feel the need to throw fists to feel powerful." Aubrey opened her mouth, but no words came out. "I took this job because it gave me stability," Maya continued. "It helped me send my nephew to college. I don't need your respect, but I'm not going to let you treat me like I'm invisible." They stood there, hearts pounding, hands half clenched. The fight wasn't loud. There were no screams, no cracked ribs or broken vases, but something was breaking, quietly. And as the silence thickened, Aubrey realized this wasn't just about fists anymore. It was about who she was when nobody flinched. Aubrey lowered her hands. She didn't say it out loud, but she was tired. Physically, sure, but more than that. Tired of fighting for something she didn't even understand anymore. This wasn't about a brooch. It wasn't about discipline or self-defense either. It was about being seen. And Maya? She saw her. That's what made it worse. Aubrey took a step back and leaned against the edge of a low bookcase. She ran a hand through her damp hair, her breath finally slowing. "I always thought, if I was strong enough, no one could touch me," she said quietly. Maya didn't respond. She just waited. "I figured if I mastered my body, I could control everything else too. What people thought of me, what I thought of myself." Maya finally stepped forward. Not aggressive, not soft, just present. "Who taught you that?" she asked. Aubrey laughed once, bitter. "My mom." Maya gave a slow nod. "Yeah, I figured. She told me emotions are for people with time to waste, that if you want to stay on top, you keep your chin up and your heart locked away." Maya looked her dead in the face. "How's that working out for you?" That question landed heavier than anything else tonight. Aubrey didn't answer, because she couldn't. She looked down at her hands, still trembling slightly. Not from fear, but from release. The kind that sneaks up on you when you've been holding your breath for years. "I don't even know who I am outside of this house," she said. "You can find out," Maya said, "but you'll have to stop fighting everyone who tries to show you." Aubrey looked up. "You really used to teach self-defense?" Maya nodded. "Back in Oakland, women's shelter. I taught for 5 years before moving here." "What made you stop?" "My sister died. I took in her son, needed a stable job, insurance, hours that made sense." Aubrey sat down on the floor now, legs crossed, like all the air had gone out of her. "I've never had to think about that," she said. "Taking care of someone, starting over." Maya leaned against the opposite wall, crossing her arms. "And that's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to recognize it." They sat there quietly, the kind of silence that wasn't uncomfortable, just overdue. People act like money protects you from pain, Aubrey muttered. It doesn't, Maya replied. It just changes the way pain looks. They both looked around the room. Family portraits, awards, an old grandfather clock that hadn't chimed in years. This room had seen generations of control, of coldness dressed up as tradition. Aubrey spoke again, this time with less tension in her throat. You know, my dad doesn't even talk to me unless it's about business. Last week I told him I broke up with someone, and he asked if the guy had a LinkedIn. Maya cracked the smallest smile. Sounds exhausting. It is. Maya pushed off the wall and walked over. She sat beside Aubrey on the floor, just a few inches away, but not touching. You want to know what I've learned? Maya asked. Aubrey nodded. Power doesn't live in your fists, or your title, or your last name. It lives in how you treat people when no one's looking, when no one can reward you for it. Aubrey swallowed hard. She looked over at Maya, not with resentment, but with something closer to relief. I'm sorry, she said, for the way I talked to you, for trying to prove something that didn't even matter. Maya didn't jump to forgive. She just sat with it for a second. Then she said, Thanks. That means something. They sat in silence again, the kind that had weight but also warmth. Not heavy, just honest. Aubrey leaned her head back against the wall. You were right, she said. About what? I didn't want to fight you. I just didn't want to feel small. Maya looked at her, voice low. You're not small, you're just lost. But even the lost can find their way, if they finally stop trying to win the wrong battles. Aubrey stayed quiet for a while, the kind of quiet that doesn't ask for space, but needs it. The clock on the wall ticked softly. Downstairs, voices murmured behind thick walls. Somewhere in the kitchen, a dish clinked into a sink. Life kept moving. But in that study, something had stopped. Something old. Maya stood up first. She didn't rush. She just rose, stretched slightly, and began fixing the furniture they'd moved aside earlier. Aubrey watched her. You're not just strong, she said. You're balanced. Maya paused, one hand on the corner of the rug. No one's balanced all the time, she said. You just learn how to come back to center faster. Aubrey nodded slowly, chewing on the thought like it had weight to it. What made you come back? She asked. From all of it? Maya's hands slowed. You mean from the grief? Yeah. Maya didn't answer right away. She straightened the lampshade, adjusted a pillow on the armchair, then turned and met Aubrey's gaze again. My nephew, she said simply. He was 9. I couldn't fall apart because he was watching. And if he saw me break, he'd think breaking was normal. Aubrey swallowed hard. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but her voice cracked before a word could come out. Maya noticed. She crossed back over, crouched down in front of her, and waited. You good? She asked, softer now. Aubrey shook her head, just once, small, almost invisible. Then she said, I don't think I know how to fix this. Not just this moment. Me. You don't fix it overnight, Maya said. You fix it by not pretending anymore. Aubrey's throat tightened. Her eyes shimmered, but didn't spill. She hated crying in front of people. Her mother called it bad optics. I never meant to be like her, Aubrey whispered. I believe that, Maya said, but I am. Sometimes I hear her voice when I speak, like she's still in me. She probably is, Maya said, but you've got time to unlearn her. Aubrey finally let out a shaky breath. It wasn't a sob, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Do you think people like me can change? Maya leaned back, sitting cross-legged again. I think people who asked that question already started. That line landed in Aubrey's chest and stayed there. She looked around the room, the one that had seen years of status games and cold lessons, and it felt smaller, not because the walls had changed, but because she had. She pulled her knees to her chest. I thought strength was about showing up hard, sharp, clean, like I could out-discipline the world into respecting me. And, Maya asked, and now I feel like a child who's just been told Santa isn't real. Maya chuckled, not unkindly, just tired. Yeah, welcome to real life. Aubrey gave a quiet, bitter smile. Then something broke, not in the room, but in the space between them. The wall, the assumption, the years of looking at Maya like background, gone. "I've never talked to anyone like this," Aubrey admitted. "Not even friends. Maybe because you don't have many." Ouch. But she wasn't wrong. Aubrey nodded. "Most of them are scared of me." "Why?" "Because I keep a wall up." "Well," Maya said, "walls don't just keep people out. They trap you in." Aubrey looked away, then quietly asked, "Would you ever teach again? Self-defense, I mean?" Maya tilted her head, surprised. "Maybe. Why?" Aubrey stood up and dusted off her slacks. She glanced at her reflection in the dark glass of the bookcase. "Because I'd like to learn from someone who's actually lived." But knowing who to learn from is just the beginning. Taking the first real step, that's where the change begins. The next morning came quietly. Sunlight spilled across the Whitmore mansion, golden and soft, slipping through the cracks in the curtains. It felt like any other day, except it wasn't. Something had shifted. Aubrey walked into the kitchen barefoot, her usual sharp presence noticeably dialed back. Her face was clean, free of makeup, hair tied up in a loose bun. For once, she didn't walk like she owned the room. She nodded to the chef, gave the groundskeeper a soft, "Good morning." Then she poured herself a glass of water and sat at the small breakfast table in the corner, the one the staff usually used. Down the hall, Maya Robinson stood by the front window, folding the last of the fresh linens. Her hands moved automatically, but her eyes flicked toward the sound of quiet footsteps approaching. "Got a minute?" Aubrey asked. Maya didn't look surprised this time, just calm as usual. "Sure." Aubrey sat down on the edge of the entry bench. "I told my dad I want to manage one of the Whitmore outreach centers," she said. Maya raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" He was confused at first, thought I was bored. She gave a half smile. "But I wasn't bored, I was done." Maya nodded slowly, folding the final towel. "You think it'll stick?" she asked. Aubrey shrugged. "I don't know, but it's a start." They stood in silence for a second. I looked up Krav Maga classes near Murfreesboro," Aubrey added. "Oh?" "Yeah, but none of them felt right. Too polished. Too commercial." Maya smirked a little. "What were you expecting? A gym in a back alley with a leaky roof?" "Honestly, yeah," Aubrey laughed. Then she got quiet again, more serious. "I was wondering, would you teach me, not like a full class or anything, just teach me how to move like you do?" Maya looked at her for a long time. "You don't need to move like me," she said. "You need to move like you, but with purpose." "I don't know what that looks like yet." "Then we start slow." Aubrey looked relieved. "Slow's good," she said. "I'm tired of trying to sprint through everything." Maya nodded once. "All right. Saturday morning, 7 a.m. backyard. You show up. I'll bring the pads." Aubrey blinked. "Wait, outside?" Maya smiled. "You want to move like me? You start where I started, on dirt, with mosquitoes." They both laughed now, a real laugh, the kind that melted whatever tension had been left over from the night before. 2 weeks later, something strange happened. One of the gardeners walked by the backyard and did a double take. There was Aubrey, on her back in the grass, sweat across her forehead, face flushed, breath short. Maya stood over her, arms crossed, holding a foam pad in one hand. "You leaned too far forward again," Maya said. "Your weight's on your toes. I could flip you with one finger." Aubrey groaned and rolled over. "This is humbling." "That's the point." But instead of quitting or making excuses, Aubrey sat up, adjusted her stance, and said, "Okay, again, and again, and again, and again. No cameras, no social media posts, no audience, just 2 women, one teaching, one learning." 6 months later, Aubrey applied to open a women's self-defense outreach center under the Whitmore Foundation. But this time, she didn't ask her father to sign off on it. She did it through the city. She used Maya's name as a consultant. When the foundation rep asked, "Why her?" Aubrey answered plainly, "Because she's the realest instructor I've ever had, and she doesn't just teach moves, she teaches why they matter." The center got approved. The first class, it was full. Maya taught the first hour. Aubrey taught the second, side by side. No uniforms, no black belts on display, just real lessons, real scars, real people. Because real power doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it doesn't swing first just to be seen. Real power knows who it is, even when no one's watching. And when you stop trying to win the room, you finally learn how to own yourself. If this story made you pause for even a second, ask yourself this. What are you fighting for? Respect, control, recognition? Or are you just swinging to hide from the parts of you that need healing? Maybe it's time to stop proving and start growing. Like, share. And if you've ever had a Maya in your life, tell them thank you.